Alright, now before I dive into the deeper points of this video, which I will do as objectively as humanly possible at least, let's be clear. I'm not saying Elon Musk is dumb, or an idiot, or evil, or any of these negative things that people might say. And I do not know him personally, obviously, and, listening to reports and interviews only reveal one side of a person's character, so it's kind of ridiculous to try to analyze someone just from looking at interviews and reports and things like that. I'm only using Elon Musk sort of as a placeholder to represent the myth of billionaire geniuses. I don't really mean to pick on him, not that he would care if I did. Anyway, now that that disclaimer is sort of aside, let's begin. Today I'm going to talk about wealth in an entirely non-political way, actually, and you can not believe me if you want, but it's the truth. First, there are several notions that I should dispel, though. You can disagree with me if you wish, but allow me to explain my points first before you go typing into comments, if indeed anyone ever does end up doing that. To be a billionaire, you must be a good opportunist, and I thoroughly acknowledge that generalization. But being a good opportunist does not equate providing the world with good solutions, nor does it equate genius. These are very common misconceptions. Indeed, a vulture is a good opportunist, but all it does is feed off of the dead. A snake oil salesman is likewise a good opportunist. But all that a snake oil salesman would do is, as you can imagine, prey off of people and make the world an objectively worse place. See, money is not a representation of merit, nor is money a representation of the quality of services provided to people. And indeed, one only need to look at social media to see that one can make money while also making the world a worse place. Or the perfect example is sort of the snake oil salesman. That in itself sort of proves that you can make money off of doing, let's say, bad deeds and preying off of people. So money is not good, nor is money evil. Money is not a measure of how hardworking, smart, dumb, or good you are. Money is neutral. People can make money off of things that make the world an objectively worse place or a better place, or do nothing at all. This is not for a dispute. In fact, I've sort of already proved my point just with the snake oil salesman example, and I could provide more modern examples than, the ancient times in the 1800s of the snake oil salesmen. I just don't want to heat tempers by naming specific names in the modern days, because the unfortunate truth is there are some people, even back in the 1800s, who would stand up for, charlatans and snake oil salesmen who were just harming people, essentially, by having them rub stuff on their skin or swallow stuff that's not good for them, right? The point is that there's plenty of ways that people, both in the modern times and in the old times, made money while also making the world a worse place. And I need to be very clear here, because I said this is not a political video, and it's not. And the truth is, I doubt you could guess my politics and get even remotely close to where I'm at. Because I'm not bashing capitalism, and nor is this a political statement. These are just facts. And let me provide an objective, easily falsifiable example for those who are having trouble keeping up. And I'm going to use the same example, I'm just going to dive into it a little bit more to break it down. A snake oil salesman could make some good money back in the 1800s, but they were not providing good services, nor were they making the world a better place. Indeed, they were often harming people. In the simplest terms, they made money while making the world a worse place. This is a common occurrence, not limited to old-fashioned swindlers. Indeed, it is sort of pervasive throughout the modern era as well. Snake oil salesmen simply serve as a good, clean example that shows that my point is objectively true and not simply an opinion that I'm spouting off for, reasons to suit my own goals. I'm a truth seeker. I am only seeking the truth, and the truth is that objectively, you can make money in bad ways or good ways. So it's not a measure of merit. It's not a measure of what you're providing to the world. If a snake oil salesman can make money while also making the world a worse place, it shows this point quite clearly, that money is not a measure of merit, rather, money is a measure of one's ability to be an opportunist. Making money does not mean one is making the world a better place, nor does it mean that one is a genius. Obviously, it doesn't mean the reverse either. Indeed, many geniuses never make any money, and this is a very important point that I'm going to be making next. Again, I will provide objective examples, although I will stay away from people in the modern era just to simply avoid heated temperaments, because there's always people that will defend even the worst sorts of people. That's just sort of the state of the world at any point in time. Nikola Tesla was a genius. He gave us the modern electric grid, he improved all of our lives, gave us countless technological advancements, and yet he also died poor and alone. Tesla was not an opportunist. He cared about truth, discovery, invention, and innovation. His works reflect that, and he contributed to society in ways beyond measure. Yet he died with nothing. He died penniless, as a matter of fact. He was also smarter than both you and I put together. And now, if you don't believe me about that, try reading one of his favorite books, A Theory of Natural Philosophy. Try understanding it, and then come back to dispute me. And until you have done that, you're very welcome to keep your uninformed opinion to yourself, because I doubt you can read that and understand it and then come back, because people of this age just simply can't read those books. Now, Charles Produce Steinmetz, he was also a genius. He created page-long equations that still haven't been solved by another living human, and he basically improved upon all of Tesla's creations. He was regarded as a wizard among the people of his time due to his ability to solve problems and think about things in ways that no one else could. He was never extravagantly wealthy, although he contributed to so much of society, and we won't have half of what we currently have without him. He also died childless, and that was by his own choice, I believe, due to his genetic condition. Now, genius does not equate wealth, as I think I've proven several times here. And wealth does not equate genius. Indeed, wealth does not equate higher intelligence even, necessarily. Although I'm sure there are certain generalized, predispositions to intelligence among certain professions. That's just an obvious point that, any child would sort of naturally know. Now, I'm going to dive into a little bit of a different angle here, but it's for a good end. I'm going to read a quote from C.S. Lewis, actually. Even though I'm not a Christian, I appreciate deep thinkers regardless of where they come from. And regardless of what you think of C.S. Lewis, he's the guy who wrote Narnia, the Chronicles of Narnia, and the Space Trilogy, and quite a few other works. And as I was saying, regardless of what you think of him, he was definitely a deep thinker, even if you disagree with him often, as I do. Now, technological advancements, this is a quote from C.S. Lewis, as best as I remember it. Technological advancements are not inherently a good thing or a bad thing. They are neutral. They can be used for good or for bad. Just as an atomic, people researching, atomic research can produce nuclear energy, which can help millions by providing clean energy, or produce devastating bombs. Obviously, the nuclear bomb, which has the potential to kill millions. So his point sort of was that technological advancements aren't good or bad. It's what you do with the technological advancements that proves to be good or bad. It's not the advancements themselves that are net good or net bad. Now, I'm probably butchering his quote a little bit, but that's just from my memory, so I think the point still stands, though. And the point is, if I'm going to summarize it for myself, is that it's the principles that matter. It is philosophy and understanding that improves the state of the world. Technology can help or it can hinder our advancements depending on who is in control and how the power is used. Think of social media. Think of how politicians betray the people they profess to represent every day on both sides of the aisle. Now, to get back to Elon Musk, just because he serves as a great placeholder, because everyone likes to, herald him as this great genius for some reason. Even though you listen to the guy talk, he sounds... Anyway, never mind. I'm not gonna be insulting. Yeah, since I don't want to be insulting, I'm actually not going to go into this angle here, because it's I don't think I really need to. But I'll just say this. To those who say that, Elon Musk is a genius because his space program or, the electric cars, which, again, he wasn't the guy who invented electric cars. He just hired some engineers that made electric cars arguably better. But to those who say he's a genius because his space program, let me remind you that any 12-year-old child who is even slightly nerdy would try to colonize space if handed $1 billion. It's sort of the obvious objective, and indeed, I'm glad that he's undertaken the objective, but it's nothing out of the norm. It's like anyone that looks to the future even remotely, even a little bit, even a child who, likes playing with Legos and watching Star Wars, they're going to want to colonize space. It's not that want or that drive that makes him unique. Indeed, Bezos has the same goal, and indeed, as I've stated, you or I would try to colonize space too if we're handed a ridiculous amount of money, likely. I'm speaking for you a little bit, but I imagine if you're someone who thinks towards the future, you'd at least have that goal in mind. Now, me personally, it would be like after creating programs to help the impoverished, space exploration is literally the most obvious thing to do next in the world to advance the human cause in the long run. Every child dreams of it, and it doesn't take a genius to hire some good engineers. Now, I'm not dissing on anyone, as I've said repeatedly, even though I'm sure people will misconstrue what I'm saying. You can think of Musk as a genius if you want. You can think of anyone as a genius if you want. I'm just stating the truth as I see it. And if he has made you a lot of money, I'm sure you are being totally unbiased in your assessment. 1,000 years from now, we will know as much of the truth as, I guess, history lays on us. But history is written by the winners, so that in itself isn't always truthful. In fact, very rarely is it, but that's entirely another point. But I hope you see the larger point that I've made. Opportunism does not equate genius. Wealth does not equate brilliance. A snake oil salesman can make a fortune while still being a bastard, making the world a worse place. Again, that's not an opinion, that's an objective fact. These are the facts of the video, and again, I'm not saying Elon Musk is, anything negative nor an idiot. I'm simply saying that wealth does not equate genius. You can come to your own conclusions about, these billionaires themselves, but essentially that's the point that I was trying to make. There's sort of this myth of, billionaire geniuses, especially among people from a certain place who they think that wealth equates merit, and that these wealthy people only got that way by being hyper intelligent and hyper hardworking, and it's just sort of objectively not true. You can make money is not a representation of how someone got there. Now, maybe some of these people are geniuses. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right. These things are entirely possible. But as I see it, it really takes someone pretty thick to... Well, this is a point I actually heard from a different person, but I'm gonna repeat it back because I think it's a damn good point. And I'll try to credit the guy who said it. I think it was Matt McKinley who I heard say this, and he's kind of a far out there guy who is a little, as I said, far out there. But regardless of what you think of him, truth can be found even in the deepest of gutters. So here's sort of what he had to say on this matter about these people that have, enormous amounts of money. Imagine what a force for good just you or I would be, or, just some guy with a good heart on the street if you handed them a lot of money. Imagine how much you could help, the city that you live in. Imagine the things that you would do to improve objectively the world with that kind of money. And again, that's not saying that you're better or worse than anyone else, or, if you had that money, things would be great, but it is saying that it's kind of interesting that these people that have these, a lot of money, now certainly not, when you really dive into the math of it, it's not like, that kind of money would solve all of the world's problems, but you could certainly solve the problems of a singular city if you're concentrating your focus, and if you really wanted to dive into it. And if someone really was like this wanted to be this force for good, this benevolent force with that kind of money, it wouldn't be that difficult. And the fact that these billionaires sort of miss out on these opportunities, and even like Bill Gates, he just funds all his money into a charity under his own name, which then just, when you dive into the numbers of it again, he just basically cycles the money back into his own pockets. And I'm not saying that to be too cynical, it's just sort of the truth of the matter. And the way that they do that is they use the money from the charities to write off expenses for meetings and things like that, and it gets pretty creepy and sinister when you really do start to dive into it. And it does make you start to wonder why they're not interested in... Well, I'm not going to say any more on the matter. You know what? I'll let you come to your own conclusions. But anyway, that's sort of the point of this video, and forgive me if the title was a little misleading. I just was trying to come up with something, and that's what I came up with. Once again, thank you for listening.